83 in Snellville and in Kennesaw, 82 in Midtown still after 11 o'clock. More news at 11:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
Well, would you look at that? This is the Nightcap with yours truly, and most importantly, your buddy, Jared Yamamoto. This is my new talk show, typically heard Saturdays from 11 to midnight, right here on 95.5 WSB. And the news of the night is popping off, especially here in the state of Georgia. So before we open up the news of the night, let me at least preview some of the Georgia stories that we're definitely going to get to in detail in the news of the night. Number one, headline from the Wall Street Journal here. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, Metro Atlanta's population is actually decreasing. Yes, the Metro's population is decreasing. And although I've read this entire Wall Street Journal article, I actually have some arguments that the writer left off. I have some theories as to why Metro Atlanta's population could be decreasing, and I'll detail it in the news of the night. Another headline that I love here from the state of Georgia, not because of what's happening, but I have my thoughts on this. Hooters is closing 2 more Georgia restaurants. They're closing the one off Cobb Parkway, kind of by Truist Park, and another one over in Augusta. And I'm going to offer a roadmap for Hooters because I know that Hooters corporate is listening right now. They are based here in Atlanta, and I know that somebody at Hooters corporate is listening right now, and I'm going to offer you a roadmap. 2 options for your restaurant to succeed in the future, and you're probably not going to like either of them, but I'm going to detail that in the news of the night. This GloRilla story. She's a rapper from Atlanta. She was arrested on felony drug charges the night before she performed at the WNBA All-Star Game is outrageous. She was the victim of a break-in in her home in Forsyth County while she was away getting ready for her WNBA All-Star Game performance. And the way Forsyth County is handling this is absolutely inappropriate. I'm going to detail why you should side with GloRilla instead of Forsyth County PD with the way they're handling this. Also, in the mayor's race, I know here in Atlanta, it looked like for a long time that Mayor Andre Dickens was basically going to go unopposed. Well, not the case. Eddie Meredith has announced his campaign for Atlanta mayor, and I'm going to tell you why this actually might be good and bad for Mayor Andre Dickens in the news of the night. But before I even open up the news of the night, I've got to start this nightcap with 2 big thank yous. Number one, I have to thank all of the amazing Von Hessler Doctrine listeners. Eric was out again this week on an extended vacation, and all the love and support that you guys have given me, Tim Andrews, Autumn Fisher, George Clark, all of the players on the Von Hessler Doctrine. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. It has been an absolute blast getting the opportunity to co-host the show with my buddy Tim Andrews, and we have learned a lot, and I love getting the extra reps, and it has been so much fun, and we're hoping that he returns back soon, that being Eric Von Hessler. But in the meantime, I feel myself getting stronger and stronger as a WSB host, and anytime I get the chance to get behind this big WSB microphone, it is an absolute honor. And speaking of honor, the other big thank you that I have to give you is for all those that donated to the WSB Carathon yesterday and Thursday. What a magical event this station puts on every year. You guys are amazing, and seeing these totals just brings a warmth to my heart that is unbelievable. I had the chance to work the call center for the first time in 8 years and host a special show from 10 to midnight on Thursday as well. If you want to listen back to it, feel free to. It is in the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto's podcast feed on WSBradio.com or the WSB Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can grab it right now, along with any of my previous Nightcaps with Jared Yamamoto. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. But it was such a remarkable time. The listeners to this station are amazing. Atlanta is so generous, and I love being a part of that every single year. It's our 25th year doing it. And if you still want to donate, maybe you missed out on the fun Thursday or yesterday with the big finale, don't worry. You can still donate on WSBradio.com or the WSB Radio app. So that way you can at least show your friends, like, hey, I still contributed, because I know lots of people did, and it was a magical event. And I just have to thank all of the listeners to this station for allowing me to be a part of it. And I was happy to help and give my time as much time as I could during the Carathon. It's an absolute pleasure to do that every single year. All right, now let's get into the...
It's the news of the night.
I know, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, friends. But first, I have to start with this. Even before the local stories here, I watched the season 27 premiere of South Park. And the fact that the White House has come out and put a statement about it says to me that both Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, have found success. I thought the episode wasn't bad. I actually found it to be quite funny. Now, if you are a supporter of the president and you have a thin skin, you're not going to like the episode. But the overall message, and my promise is, I'm not going to do any spoiling of the episode. I'm going to leave it to you to go watch it yourself. But I think overall, the message of the episode was that right now we're being a little too sensitive, and the left had been too sensitive for a while, and now the right is being too sensitive. And they detail some very, very funny moments. Basically, that Trump's got kind of a small junk, and that he's married to Satan, kind of like a former character in the show, Saddam Hussein, was also married to Satan as well, too. And you've got Jesus involved in it as well, too. So again, if you have a thin skin, I'm not going to recommend this episode of South Park to you, because you're not going to like the overall messaging. But when you think a little bit deeper into it, it's actually pretty funny, and I found it quite enjoyable. But of course, the White House didn't like it, because there's an AI video of Trump at the very end of it. This spoils nothing, by the way, where he is completely naked and he's running around. And this prompted the White House to put out this statement here. The left's hypocrisy truly has no end. For years, they have come after South Park for what they labeled as offensive content, but suddenly they are praising the show. And just like the creators of South Park, the left has no authentic or original content, which is why their popularity continues to hit record lows, end quote. That was from Taylor Rogers, who is a White House spokesperson. And I'm sorry, the idea of the episode was to be funny and to show hypocrisy. Both Trey Parker and Matt Stone have the nads to actually go out there and make fun of everybody. That show makes fun of everybody. Eventually, the show comes around to you. And that's what I love so much about them. That's why, in my opinion, Dave Chappelle, in his heyday, when he was the best, he made fun of everybody, and he didn't have any restrictor plates at all. Now, South Park, in my opinion, again, Trey Parker and Matt Stone usually hit it. There are a couple episodes where they're not great. And some people are like, well, it's, they're out of their heyday. They're not in the best place anymore. I'm like, look, if you watch this episode and you are open-minded to humor and you allow yourself to laugh at what's going on with the current state of the world, with the current state of the country, then you will enjoy this episode of South Park. Again, it's got Satan, it's got Jesus, it's got Trump, and it's got a naked Trump AI part of the video. So I found it to be very funny, comical, a little tongue in cheek, and the overall message was funny. But if you're thin-skinned, don't take your old buddy Jared Yamamoto's advice and watch this episode. All right, now let's get into these local stories here, because I teased this before, and I know you guys want to hear about it. So for the first time in nearly 3 decades, Metro Atlanta's population is actually decreasing. Yes, this is new data from the census that show that more people from within the metro area moved out of it during 2024. Modest decline. It's only about 1,330 people. But as more and more metro areas around the South continue to attract people, it makes the metro area less attractive. So like right now, you've got Nashville booming. You've got Charlotte booming. You've got all these different cities that are trying to attract top-tier talent. Raleigh, North Carolina is growing like crazy. There's a lot of places that people are moving to. And the thing that I was amazed that the Wall Street Journal did not report was affordability. Affordability is a big deal. And Atlanta, for the longest time, with all the gentrification that's going on, and for the most part, I have been a fan of the gentrification. But if there is a drawback to it, a lot of the older restaurants and just places that you could go, just other businesses that you could go to, were significantly more affordable than the replacing restaurants and businesses that have come in their place. It's just a fact. Like, you look at most neighborhoods and things are getting outpriced. I look at Bankhead Seafood, for example. Bankhead Seafood just reopened about a year ago. That's T.I. and Killer Mike, both rappers. They opened it over in Bankhead, and they had to close it to change their menu. And they're like, well, what in the world? Why do we have to close it again? Well, because it used to be a neighborhood establishment that was affordable for people in Bankhead. When they reopened it, they had new Atlanta prices. There's a real thing here in Atlanta. There's old Atlanta and there's new Atlanta. And as somebody that was born and raised here, I know exactly what people are talking about when they say new Atlanta and old Atlanta. So if you were born and raised here, you know what I'm talking about. And when Bankhead Seafood reopened last year, and this applies, by the way, to lots of different restaurants around the area, whether it's Summerhill, Buckhead, you name it, this applies to other places. But with Bankhead Seafood specifically, when the reopening of it happened, I guess last year, the prices were new Atlanta prices and not old Atlanta prices. And that was a mistake by both Killer Mike and T.I. to do that. The people in that neighborhood can't afford it. And because things are becoming so unaffordable, it makes smaller cities look more attractive. You look over at Charlotte, you're like, oh, the cost of living may be a little bit cheaper in Charlotte. Oh, you look at Nashville, the cost of living might be a little bit cheaper. The traffic in Atlanta, the traffic is a big deal. Is it worth paying more money to live in Atlanta compared to other cities when the cost of living is higher and you may be sitting in traffic for longer? This is so important, and really important for the mayor to be looking at into the future, because I think that Atlanta is going through, and a lot of the country for that matter, is going through this big leveling out process. I've noticed that cocktail prices have gone down at a lot of bars. I've noticed that beer prices have gone down. And overall, I think this is a good thing. I think this is a reaction to the current state of the economy. I know here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, I have preached till I have been blue in the face about this, how I think that we've kind of been in a quiet recession for really about 2 years now. So this is not a Trump thing. Before the Trumpers come after me, they're going to get mad at me. And I'm actually going to give a poll later on in the show that gives praise to the Trump supporters out there. And for me, remember, I'm somebody that's a fiscal conservative and a social liberal. So it's not like I'm a Democrat or anything like that. The Democrats, believe me, don't have an answer either. This quiet recession was already going on during the Biden administration and is carried into the Trump administration. And I think that by seeing these prices dropping at some of these restaurants around town, even in the new Atlanta restaurants, I'm doing the air quotes, the new Atlanta restaurants, I think that there is a correction happening here. And again, it's only basically 1,000 people difference that are leaving here, according to this Wall Street Journal. 1,330 people leaving the city compared to those adding on to the city. But it is a concerning number, and as an Atlantan, we should be concerned because we want to be open. We want to be welcoming. We want to be affordable. We want to be thinking about new infrastructure options so that way we attract more and more people to our great city, and we can showcase how great Georgia is, not only from a tax perspective, but also just from a state perspective, from a economic perspective. There are so many great benefits to living in the state of Georgia, and I feel like what we need to do is we need to be able to blend a little bit of the old Atlanta and a little bit of the new Atlanta and allow them to live in harmony. And I know for the true Atlantans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those out there, for those that are just focused on their profits and focused on making as much money as possible, you're going to dismiss your old buddy Jared Yamamoto and be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to make a buck no matter how I do it. So when we come back here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, I'm going to get into the Hooters story. I'm going to tell you the two different paths that Hooters needs to take in order to succeed, and I've got to get into this GloRilla story. I am angry at how Forsyth County has been handling this. Rapper GloRilla is an Atlantan through and through, and What they're doing to her is absolutely wrong. We'll get to both those stories and more when my Nightcap returns in just a few minutes. We are proudly brought to you by the great folks over at Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Now your Saturday fun can begin because you found the Nightcap with yours truly, Jared Yamamoto, and I'm on all the way until midnight, but the conversation can continue even after midnight on my socials, at Jared Yamamoto, whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, all the different places. I'm happy to continue the conversation on anything that I may have brought up here tonight on the Nightcap on my socials. Now, I know that this has been a very difficult week for my Gen X friends. You know what? As I've gotten older, I start to relate a lot more with my Gen Xers. Those are like your 45-year-old to 60-year-old. Those are I really get my Gen Xers now. And it's been a difficult week. Well, why has it been difficult, Jared? Well, because we lost Ozzy Osbourne at 76 years old, Hulk Hogan at 71, and Malcolm Jamal Warner at 54 years old. Obviously, Ozzy Osbourne, his music will live on and on and on. I was connected to him early. I loved Crazy Train because that was Chipper Jones's walk-up music, and Chipper Jones was always one of my favorite Braves players for the longest time. Hulk Hogan's weird because I always knew him as a celebrity, but I never watched wrestling. So I know for a couple of my Gen X friends, I mean, this is a big deal because they loved wrestling, but I was just behind that generation. I never really got into wrestling. So for me, Hulk Hogan was always more of a celebrity than a professional wrestler. But regardless, it stinks to lose him. 71 years old. There may have been some health complications. We'll get to the bottom of that hopefully next week on the Von Hessler Doctrine. And hopefully there was no foul play with that. And then the Malcolm Jamal Warner story. Man, this guy, I know people want to bring up his story on The Cosby Show. I had seen him in a couple movies and a couple other shows as well, too. And the way that he lost his life in a rip current in Costa Rica, I mean, I'm sorry, like my antennas are up. I'm a little suspicious of that story. I want more answers of the way that all three of these legends died. I want more answers about the way that he died because I know rip currents are crazy and I know Costa Rica is known for its unsettled seas. But for me, I'm like, I'm a little weirded out by that one. I'm not buying that story all the way through and through. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just want some more answers. That's all I'm trying to say. And look at that. I've already taken all of the time here. And I appreciate you, by the way, Jason. Jason is making sure that I stay on the tracks here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto because I go long in these segments all the time. And I appreciate you playing this. This song is awesome. This is the new Tame Impala song. It is called End of Summer. And what a brilliant song for him to name it this song. Well, why, Jared? Why is it brilliant? Well, it's brilliant because there really hasn't been that summer hit yet. And by just putting summer in the title, I think it's going to pick up immediately. I like it so far. This literally dropped yesterday, and I appreciate you, Jason, but I know what you're doing. You're trying to keep me on the track. So when we come back here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, I will get into the Hooters story, closing 2 more locations here in Georgia. I will offer the roadmap for their success, the GloRilla story I want to get into, and, of course, Mayor Andre Dickens' challenger. We'll cover all that and more when my Nightcap returns in just a few minutes after news, weather, and traffic.
82 in Alpharetta, it's 81 in Sugar Hill, and 83 right here on Peachtree Street. More news for you at 12 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Chip Canales on 95.5 WSB.
And just like that, we're back. It's the Nightcap with yours truly, Jared Yamamoto. And I know with the WSB Carathon going on all day yesterday and Thursday that the programming's been a little bit different this week. So in case you missed this audio on Wednesday, this is my favorite audio of the week. And this is the one thing that I do love about Trump is that he just says things that are just downright bizarre sometimes and downright funny, actually. And he said this about Tulsi Gabbard with the whole Obama-Russia collusion, and now that the Bidens were involved and the Clintons were involved. It's a wild story, and in my opinion, I feel like it's a distraction away from the Epstein case. But regardless, Trump did say this because Tulsi Gabbard, his director of intelligence, was the one that found it, and he said this about her.
Director of National Intelligence. Oh, where's Tulsi? She's like hotter than everybody. She's the hottest one in the room right now because she found out with certainty. I think we knew it before, in all fairness, Tulsi. But now you have certainty. She has all the documents. She has everything that you need. And she found out that Barack Hussein Obama led a group of people and they cheated in the elections.
Okay, all right. So you're still trying to deflect away from the Epstein files. Again, the Epstein files started 2 weeks ago for me, 30th on priority. Then with all the deflections, it went up to like 25. Now it's up to like 18 on Jared Yamamoto's priority list by the president continuing to deflect and talking about, well, in 2016, it was obvious that the Obamas were behind the whole Russian misinformation. Russians were behind the 2016 election. It seems like a big distraction to me, and by continuing to highlight it, being the news hawk that I am, it makes me even more curious to get these files. But those two moments there in the middle of it, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's the hottest one in the room right now.
Then again,
she's like hotter than everybody.
So you could say what you want about Trump, but he could be funny in those moments. And going back to the South Park premiere, season 27 premiered on Wednesday this week. I watched it back on Paramount Plus, and boy, they got paid $1.5 billion by Paramount to get on their network. Bravo to, again, Trey Parker and Matt Stone for getting that kind of money to get over there and for having the Nads to go after the president the way that they did. I found it to be quite comical. I thought overall the message was good. I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil, but what I did like was, again, that they were not afraid to go after him because this guy, like, he is trying to find any way that he can to deflect away from stories that he doesn't like. When somebody says something he disagrees with, then, oh boy, he just goes full speed in the other direction. And that's the one thing that I just dislike so much about this presidency so far is that it's like, dude, focus on what you ran on. If you actually cut spending and actually make the economy better for middle-class families, you're going to have a successful presidency. You're going to be remembered as one of the best presidents if you do these things. And overall, there's already polling that's coming out now. I saw this Fox News poll that came out earlier this week. So take it with a grain of salt. I know it's a Fox News poll. People are like, oh, I don't know about that. But it found that most people believe that Republicans still have a better plan to lead the country than Democrats. 43% of Americans think that Republicans have a better plan compared to 33%. And I get that. I understand that. I actually agree with that. I've been saying for the past couple of weeks that I feel like it's an extension of the status quo, but at least you know who's making the decisions this time. With Biden, it was a cloud of uncertainty. You didn't know who was running things, and that was a big deal for me going into the election. It was this idea that he was cognitively there. I mean, I felt like I was misled by the Democrats for a long time. And even though I'm not digging the way that Trump is handling things, at least you know that it is coming from him. And with this whole Obama thing, 2016, it's like, dude, you won. You already had that presidency. Let's stop worrying about it. And finally, by the end of the week, he basically concluded that Obama has immunity and he's not going to be able to go after him. So at least he kind of tampered it down a little bit. But it all feels like a distraction from the Epstein files. And, Tulsi Gabbard's all excited. She's all giddy. Her eyes are all big. Look at me. I'm finally in Trump's inner circle again. Look at me. And she's laying out how this all went down.
There's irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards.
Okay.
And withheld the truth from the American people.
Okay.
In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be...
Okay, Tulsi, I've had enough. What are you going to do? What is this going to translate? Does this mean that somebody that worked in the Obama administration is going to go to jail? Like, I get that it seemed shoddy, and I think most of America did not believe in Russian misinformation. They did not believe that Russia stole the 2016 election. I think most Americans, looking back, did not ever believe that. It was a narrative that was pushed from the left side of American politics, and for the most part, most people pushed back against it, and he was still president. It's not like he got the presidency taken away from him. The only times that Trump was impeached was when Democrats had a majority in the House, and that's the thing that I'm just tired of. I'm like, get to work. Go there and do the things that you were talking about doing. Stop dwelling in the past, because it does look like you're trying to distract us away from other things. But look, I've talked already at length about Trump, and I promised you I wanted to get these local stories. I promised this earlier, and I've got to get to the story here. So Hooters is closing 2 more Georgia restaurants. They're closing one over by Truist Park off Cobb Parkway, and another one in Augusta. And I mentioned at the top of the show that Hooters has to go 2 different directions in order to succeed. And their corporate office is right here in Atlanta. So I know that somebody at Hooters corporate is listening to WSB Radio. I know that you're listening, and you're not going to like one of these solutions. But right now, you're kind of in the tease category. There's no real need to go to a restaurant with, I guess, scantily clad women working there, right? Either you go to a Magic City or to a Claremont Lounge or to a Pink Pony, any of the different strip clubs out there, and you get the full thing that you're asking for, or you decide to actually focus on getting good chefs in these restaurants and just completely revamp your menu. Go away from the wings, go away from the sports bar style restaurant, and decide what your new identity is going to be. So you either go to full on, we're going to become a strip club. Wherever you ever see a Hooters, we're going to be a strip club. Or you say, no, we're going to actually focus on the food in this restaurant, and that's what's going to entice you to be able to come. Not popular opinions, because I know people are like, well, what are you talking about? I always went to Hooters to go watch the games on Saturdays. Well, your population is dwindling. That's not the reason why people go there. I used to go there to get, a big pitcher of beer and look at the girls. People don't go to those kind of places to look at girls anymore. What they're going to do is they're going to go to some of the world-class strip clubs, especially here in Atlanta, for that. Sorry, mom and dad, that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to the strip club to get that. Or you need to focus on actually having a good food product. And I don't dislike Hooters wings, but they have to totally revamp who they are. And it has to be a drastic change one way or the other. I personally think that option 1 is probably the best direction for them to go, because they already have the people working that would probably be more willing to go that direction. I'm not saying that every Hooters employee would like to be a stripper, but I'm sure that some of them would, and that's a good direction for them to go, and their business would naturally fit that kind of model, because they could keep serving wings. They could keep serving the big, tall beers. They could keep the games going on in the background. That would be a good solution for them. But I guarantee you, they're going to be like, no, that Jared Yamamoto, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then in about 5 years, you're going to be like, wow, I wish I listened to him. That guy knew what he was talking about. I'm here to call things out as I see them. That is how Hooters is going to find success in the future. All right, now this next story. This story enrages me. I teased this at the top of the show. Rapper GloRilla, she was arrested on felony drug charges the night before her WNBA All-Star Game performance. And this was absurd. So she performed last Saturday night, WNBA All-Star Game, and I guess Friday night into Saturday morning, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office confirmed that there were people breaking into her house. She was a victim of a burglary. And while they went to go check on her house, again, she's out of town. There have been several stars where this has happened, by the way, notably in the NFL world. Joe Burrow was on a road game. I think he was on a Thursday night football game, and he had his house burglarized. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's boo, he also had his home burglarized while he was at a road game. So this is a very common thing that is happening to prominent figures, celebrities, big sports stars out there, musicians like GloRilla. And while they were there, they noticed that there was a lot of marijuana in her house. And for me, I'm sorry, I have a problem with people, number one, going in and burglarizing a house, but this marijuana was doing nothing to Forsyth County? Nothing. So the officers go in the house. They wanted to go track what was stolen from her house, and they smelled a quote significant amount of marijuana in a bedroom closet. And so she was charged with possession of marijuana and possession of a controlled substance. Now, the controlled substance, I don't know what that is. I could merit a charge for that. But when it comes to marijuana in your own house, not doing anything wrong with it, I have a major problem with that. And Forsyth County, you need to look yourself in the mirror right now. If you want to have legit celebrities living in your county, calling Atlanta home, I mentioned at the top of the show, the population of Atlanta is dwindling for a lot of people because of expenses and because of ridiculous things like this here, where you're going in there to file a police report while said celebrity is out of town doing a performance. I mean, these scumbags that decided to burglarize her house are another story, and they should be the focus of this story, not about finding marijuana in her house. I'm sorry. It's 2025. Basically, half the country has marijuana legalized, and whether you like it or not, it is going to come to Georgia eventually. It is heading this way, and it is heading this way with a vengeance. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I would not want to restrict somebody from doing it, especially somebody who is away from their home performing, but then when they come home, they call Georgia home. So Forsyth County, get this right here. I mean, she had to pay over $22,000 in bond to get out of jail. She had to turn herself into Forsyth County. What humiliation. If I'm GloRilla, I'm saying get out of Forsyth County right now. Go on and move to a county that cares about you, that understands what you do, the amount of impact you make to the community. And I get some people are like, well, I don't care about GloRilla and her music. Well, listen, what if it had been somebody else? What if it had been, I know we lost Ozzy Osbourne this week, but what if Ozzy Osbourne had a closet full of marijuana? Would you be saying the same thing? If Ozzy Osbourne was still with us and had a home in Forsyth County and there was a closet filled with marijuana, would you be saying the same thing? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And that's what angers me so much about this story. So when we come back, I feel like I got it out of my system. Forsyth County, number one, you've got to do better. This is ridiculous. These charges should be dropped. She is the victim, not the person causing a problem here. GloRilla, I'm with you all the way. When we come back, I want to talk about this guy that's running up against Mayor Andre Dickens here in Atlanta. His name is Eddie Meredith. I'll give you some of the details of him. And I'm going to tell you why it's both a good and bad thing for Andre Dickens to have a little competition. I got a couple more stories I want to get to as well. And I'm not happy with my favorite music festival, Hangout Fest. I've got to tell you why. There's only so much time. I'll try to get to as much as possible when my Nightcap returns. And thankfully, we are brought to you by the great folks over at Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Not a lot of time here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto. So if you want to keep the conversation going or give me praise or have any questions on anything that I may have brought up, feel free to give me a follow on my socials at Jared Yamamoto. We'll keep the conversation going well after midnight when this here Nightcap ends. And I have to get to this story here because I feel like this falls in the dumb headlines category here. Atlanta's Truist Park is officially one of the best stadiums for surviving a zombie apocalypse. I really hope our tax money was not used in this. So they did a hypothetical ranking of the top 10 Major League Baseball ballparks, and Atlanta's Truist Park ranks 5th overall. Number 1, T-Mobile Park. That's the home of the Seattle Mariners. So if you were ever in a hypothetical zombie apocalypse, which will never happen, you should be in the Seattle Mariners Park. But I can assure you, the one thing that I know about zombie apocalypses from watching Last of Us, don't come after me, I know it's fungus, it's different, or Walking Dead, is not to go to a crowded place. I would not be going to Truist Park or any kind of crowded place if a hypothetical zombie apocalypse ever were to happen. But look, I'm already giving them way more play, and I really hope that our tax money was not used in this study. Now let's talk about Eddie Meredith, because Eddie Meredith announced his campaign for Atlanta mayor. I really like what Mayor Andre Dickens has done so far. I feel like he's been a massive improvement over Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was his predecessor, and I think he's done a good job of really putting Atlanta first. Aside from his little mishap in Memphis when we had an emergency here, he's done a really good job. And this Eddie Meredith, he is a pastor and community advocate, and he is going to focus on ending homelessness, tackling poverty, and investing in infrastructure. All things that I like. I think overall, for Mayor Dickens, it's good to have a little competition. Competition helps sharpen you and helps make you a better candidate. Because I do think that this is just the beginning of his political career. I think that he's going to go for maybe senator or something like that later. And again, I know people are like, oh, don't encourage Democrats, Jared. I'm here to tell you, like, he's a young guy. He's sharp. I've met him here at WSB a couple of times, and I'm impressed with what I've seen so far. I do feel like he genuinely cares about Atlanta. A couple of things that I disagree with him on, like politically, but overall, I have no doubt that he cares about Atlanta. But I think that this Eddie Meredith, the nice thing about him is at least having a little competition will make Andre Dickens better. And potentially, what I'm very frustrated with the city of Atlanta has been a lot of over-promising and under-delivering. I did an entire episode of the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto talking about how we've been moving the goalposts on things, how we've been promised these very big public projects, and then they have to scale them back. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of these scaled-back public projects. I want to have big public projects that make a huge impact for the city of Atlanta, and I want to see her something revolutionary. And it would be cool, not like any kind of like takeover of the city, but just something infrastructure-wise, especially where we're like, wow, like we hadn't thought about that before. And I feel like we haven't really been getting any news like that. So I'm pulling for Andre Dickens, but I am going to be looking into this Eddie Meredith a little bit more as the mayoral race starts to heat up in the next couple of months. That is our time for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on my Nightcap. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you every Saturday night. And if you donated to the WSB Carathon, you're an even better WSB listener. Thank you for donating so much to our 25th annual WSB Carathon. You made a tremendous impact, and it was a pleasure to be part of it the past couple of days. That's our time for tonight. Please be sure to do two things. Number one, be safe. And number two, don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'll see you next Saturday, or of course on the Von Hessler Doctrine on Monday.